Okay, it's no secret among DBD players that most of the killer roster is kinda shit. The details are up for debate, but there's pretty much a consensus that no matter how good you are, if you're playing a low to mid tier killer and the survivors are trying and at least somewhat skilled, you're gonna have a bad time. Some amount of that is down to survivor gameplay loop being a bit too strong, but another big part of it is just that most of the roster has some giant gaping problems that never get addressed. That's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to lay out the problems each killer has and tell you how I'd fix them. For future reference, this is version 3.5.2, which is just before the release of the Death Slinger. Alright, get into this. Start at the top, we got Trapper. This guy's barely been touched since the game's been released, and it shows. He got a buff to his trap placement speed, a pretty small update to his add-ons, and pretty soon he's getting the ability to reset traps. That's about it. His biggest problem is simply the time it takes to use his power. If he wants to set a trap, he has to walk a potentially massive distance to collect the trap, pick up the trap, bring the trap to the desired location, set the trap. Here, 3 gens get done, and then realize a Meg with Object of Obsession was watching him the whole time and is ready to disarm it the moment you walk away. At which point, the trap you set is useless until you walk over to retrieve it again. Oh, and did I mention that at base you can only hold 1 trap at a time? So God help you if you want to have more than 1 trap set up when you committed the cardinal sin of running out of bag add-ons. The first solution that came to mind was maybe a tad heavy-handed, as it was just giving him all 6 of his traps at the start of the match. It didn't take long to realize that was a terrible idea, as it would just render the entire quadrant that Trapper spawned in unplayable for the first minute without actually solving his problems. After thinking about it a little more, I came up with this. Instead of loading onto the map with 1 trap in your hand and 5 others scattered around, you load them with 3 in hand and none scattered around. Every time you successfully trap or down a survivor, you gain another trap until you hit the maximum numbers of traps in the match, which is still 6. If a trap gets disarmed and stays disarmed for a full minute, it returns to your hand. This alone would make Trap feel amazing compared to his current state, since you would just waste a ton less time. But there's a lot of really dumb shit that I have to address with Trapper. First of all, the ability to see auras of his own traps as a minimum range. I don't know why that's a thing. I get that it's a thing with other aura effects. It's dumb with them. It's dumb here too. Get rid of it. If you get somebody trapped and they're already injured, there's no consequence as long as they high roll and escape. I think it'd be a good idea to have survivors who are trapped get some kind of extra penalty if they were injured. Deep wounds, broken state, maybe even the honing stone effect would be good. I think Otts suggested that. 3 survivors can dead hard over the traps. This is dumb. Dead hard is dumb in general since you can use it for distance, but it's even worse when they do that over a trap since you have to stop and pick it up. You know how crushing it is to outplay somebody by chasing them into a dead end where the only exit is blocked by a trap, like that one hallway on Larry's, but they pressed E and make you look like a fucking clown? Let's fix this. Either make traps snap people up during dead hard, or let Trapper walk over his own traps. Woo! When a survivor escapes your grasp, they also get 5 seconds of iframes. I get maybe you don't want people getting their shins snapped when they land from a DS, but come on, this is long enough they can literally vault a window that is trapped on both sides and come out unscathed. Okay, these things need to be shorter, like 3 seconds max, and then if the survivor starts a vault action, they should forfeit those iframes. The dumbest thing, in my opinion, is the mechanism that you have to go through for escaping a trap. There is no fucking skill behind this. It is completely random. This is more bullshit than pig, in my opinion. I've seen survivors vault the atrium window in the asylum and escape before I can vault after them. And at the same time, I've been trapped on the opposite side of Trapper, or opposite side of the map from a Trapper, and it's taken me nearly a minute to escape. In both cases, I've immediately started wondering why I have 3,800 hours in this goddamn game. Please just make a set duration for a channeled action like everything else. Like 8 to 15 seconds, anywhere in that range is good enough. As for his add-ons, those are mostly fine. Behavior did a pretty good job when they updated those, so all that would need changing are the ones related to escape times, and maybe a little bit of a tweak to bag. Wraith is the opposite of Trapper. His base kit is more or less fine. All I'd really do here is increase his base speed while cloaked and make his shimmer imperceptible at a distance. Big problem here are his add-ons. God, those are fucking terrible. They're not bad effects. They're fine as effects. If you're playing Wraith and kill your friends, there's no problem. But the moment you take him into a real match, you realize that the structure of his add-ons is just terrible. If you look at his combat add-ons, compared to other killers, let me put it this way. Other killers have like modest but decent effects on their commons, like combat straps, spark plug, and then when you look at the purple add-ons, they get the quirky, unique effects, like, what's it called? A tombstone. For Wraith, it's turned on its head. Commons should be like spark plug, not serpent. Serpent is terrible. Specifically, what I would do is go into this. The beast can stay where it is. I'm not moving a blood point add-on further up than it should be. This should be at the bottom for everyone. I'd also move Bone Clapper down to common, and then I'd fill the other two slots with soot versions of Wraith's normal add-ons. More than likely, those would be Swift Hunt and where is it? And the mud version of Blind Warrior, that can go down to soot. For uncommons, Wraith can just have one sigil of each major type. Swift Hunt and Shadow Dance would be unchanged, while the mud version of Blind Warrior would be the same as the current white version, applying the indefinite mangled effect until they're healed. I would change Blink just entirely to increase your movement speed while cloaked, similar to the current Windstorm, because its current effect is terrible. Who gives a shit about how fast you cloak? It's irrelevant, and you cloak fast enough anyway. And then I would change the current Windstorm into something that increases the power of your uncloak haste, probably just like plus 0.2 seconds duration, something like that. The rares here, more of the same, but since we moved Blind Warrior down a tier, we'd be short one add-on, so I'd move the All-Seeing down to the green tier. Maybe shave off 2 meters off its range or something to compensate, but I don't think that'd be super necessary. Very rares, probably look pretty familiar. They would just be the commons, but buffed up. Ghost, it's already really good. Doesn't need to be changed to be made worthy of being a purple. Serpent, it's good in theory, but it has some kinks that need to be ironed out. It needs to uncloak you instantly after you complete the action. And then no delay. And then it needs to give you the uncloak haste. And then definitely worthy of being a purple. The Hound, definitely... Where's the Hound? There's the Hound. Yeah, it's not worthy of being a purple. Needs work. I would change it to reveal auras of bloodstains within like a short range, maybe 8 meters, 10 meters while cloaked. Yeah, Bloodhound on steroids. And since I would be leaving Beast in the common tier, we're missing one purple add-on, which I would replace with Coxcomb Clapper. For ultra rares, you could leave them with one ultra rare, but if you really want to stick with the pattern, you could give them a new one. You could make that literally anything. Maybe a Blind Warrior that makes sneak attacks random undetectable. Maybe one that works similar to that one Nurse add-on that lets you return to a previous location. Maybe one that gives the bell a cooldown but makes it a lot stronger somehow. Again, the base kit, mostly fine. Fixes add-ons, make the game more reasonable around him, be fine. Hillbilly, he's fine. Maybe an ultra rare. Maybe Insta-Saw nerfs. Only thing he really needs is you to fix false saws. I'm just going to move on here. I don't play Hillbilly. Like, look at him. He's the only one of the old killers that I have not at a high prestige, except him, Myers, and Pig. Pig, I just didn't prestige at all. Well, Myers, him and Myers, I don't like playing. But, yeah. Moving on. Nurse. She's very good even after the nerfs, but even though she is strong, she feels terrible. Just, oh god. They could get away with not buffing her before the rework, but now she doesn't have that much raw strength to make up for how terrible she feels. Okay. First pain point here is the new Blink recharge. It's a good system. I think it's probably the best way to balance out such a strong power, but the way it was implemented needs a lot of fucking work. If you start charging a Blink, that pauses recharge progress. And if you blink with some partial progress, all that progress goes away. That's a little bit harsh, in my opinion. They could get rid of those stipulations. Hell, if you did that, you could even add an entire second to the recharge time, and that would be worth it to me. There's also the bug that causes blink charge sounds to spaz out. If you ever play Nurse, you know exactly what I'm talking about, and you probably hate it at least as much as I do. Distracting, it's hard to judge distance, and second biggest reason why I don't really play this killer much right now. The biggest reason, of course, is how unreasonably difficult it can be to blink through some terrain. Two main categories for this kind of thing. One of them could be argued just be a get good instance, but it's when you have a small obstacle that requires a short blink to get through. You know you wanted to go through that rock, but the game decided you wanted to blink absolutely nowhere. Now, you could hold players to this level of precision, but considering how maybe you let Huntress get away with throwing bathtubs at people, I think you can throw Baby Nurse to the bone on this one. If you're hugging a thin wall and blink, the game should be able to detect that you wanted to go to the other side, and at the very least, put you on the correct side of the wall. The second category, I can't justify, and that's how terrible it is when you want to blink to a different elevation. If you're a Nurse player, you know how dumb this can be. How many times have you accidentally blinked into the basement? How many times have you been unable to blink out of the basement? How many attempts does it take you to get onto the Thompson House balcony or into the cellar building on Haddonfield? I think the solution here is a little bit easier than the first one. The first one requires like a smart blink system, and I'm not sure I can trust behavior to code that without somehow managing to nerf the pig. But this one is fairly simple. The Nurse is fairly limited right now in how far she can look up to target her blink. Get rid of that. Let her look directly up or down to blink between levels without any lateral movement. I think that would help a bit. Her add-ons are mostly fine. I would personally remove the stipulations on Bookmark that stops you from blinking through walls. Since it's an ultra rare, it should at least be allowed to be as good as the green add-on it was based on. And then I changed 2 of her 3 blood point gain in add-ons to be something that she'd actually want to use. Let's see. Myers is awful right now. I know I'm going out of order here, but I think I fucked up when I was writing the script. And Myers is up next. So yeah, he's awful right now. Dedicated servers fucked this boy up big time. A lot of his problem came before that though, so I'll take this as an opportunity to talk about the old problems along with the new. The way stalking works is shit. The game detects whether you can see a survivor by detecting if you can see the majority of their torso. This means that you can literally be looking somebody in the eye and be unable to tear up because their chest is behind a rock. If that's not bad enough, this stuff is calculated server side, meaning if they have high ping, fuck if I know if you're going to get any stalk. It's relatively simple fix on paper. Change the stalk detector to work additionally on whether you can see their head or legs, and change stalking to work from the killer's client. I realize that's probably harder than it sounds, but if you were able to code it the other way, I don't see how this is any worse. As for his other problems, I guess just go in order of the forms. Tier 1, this should be like this early game resource used to get sneak attacks before the starters know your identity. But in reality, it's just this massive hindrance. It completely stops you from being a threat for the first minute or even more of the game. You need to find a guy, stare at him without getting noticed while moving at 105% speed. And that means that both you're not going to be able to chase if you get seen, and it's going to take you forever to go around the map to just find people in the first place. I think it should be a lot easier to get out of Tier 1, and I think the penalties for being in Tier 1 should be a lot less than they currently are. First off, give him 110 movement speed. He's still slow as fuck and has no lunge, but at least he's not a snail. And second, if you can get a hit or a grab, I think that should fill up a big old chunk of your stock bar. Getting a gen grab is great, but if it's at the cost of 45 seconds at Tier 1, that's like you're getting punished for good play. I don't really like that. Tier 2, it also has some problems, mostly tied to what exactly you want to do in that form. You have 2 main goals. You either want to run up and sneak attack with your low terror radius combined with strong stats and build up to Tier 3. Those two conflict with each other, since if you're stalking, you're giving them time to notice you, rendering your sneak attack pointless, and if you're attacking them, you're not stalking them. Solution here, in my opinion, is to let Myers stalk during his attack recovery at the cost of increasing his recovery time when he attempts to do so. Or just, he stabs you, he's looking at his knife, but he's also looking up a little bit, getting a little bit of charge. Tier 3, it also has a couple problems. First one comes when you trigger it. To trigger Tier 3 by stalking, well, you have to stalk. And that cuts your movement speed to practically nothing, and it removes all your forward momentum. So if you want to wait to stab somebody immediately after you pop Tier 3 and they're a little bit far away, you would have to lunge, you have to wait a beat, and that can give them time for a pallet drop, a vault, sprint burst, yada yada yada. Solution here, change the way tearing up works. I'd make it so when you fill your stock meter, it doesn't instantly tear you up. Instead, tying that to a separate button. This would also solve the problem of people tearing up when they didn't want to. You could, of course, 99 to get around that problem, but then you run the risk of dedicated servers deciding they know the strategy better than you. So yeah, you just fill the stock bar to full, and instead of instantly tearing up, you're effectively 99'd. And you just press left control at some point, and you tear up whenever you want. As for Tier 3 itself, I think a bonus to break speed or stun recovery would be welcomed with open arms, since as things stand, you could pop Tier 3 and get nothing out of it other than 3 pallets, I guess. Yeah, I think that's enough for just gameplay. Just fix the pipe cosmetic, it's dumb. The knife sound for the knife, or knife sound for the pipe, rather. That's weird. Doctor, wow, I'm really going out of order here. He's fine, balance-wise. The rework did great. I'd like it if they took a look at his afflictions, make him more of a mindfuck. But especially since he's getting more buffs next patch, I don't think he is going to need anything. By the way, what's it called? Dead Man's Switch. Dead Man Switch. Very good on Doctor. Just saying. Similar to Doctor, Huntress doesn't really need a whole lot. Maybe hitboxes and /or servers could who knows. As long as behavior stops screwing with the way survivors move, Huntress is gonna be pretty good. I cannot wait until the day I'm glitched into a lobby of PS4 survivors who have never faced the terror that is a PC Huntress, even though I'm fucking terrible. Maybe I'll be I'll ease the transition. Then because you got console Huntresses, then you got mediocre PC Huntresses, and then you have Scott, which is, yeah. As far as gameplay changes, maybe you could change her reload speed to be, or not reload speed, just reload action to occur at something other than a locker, because Pale Rose exists, and then you should definitely look at your head. I like Scott Junn's idea of having it only apply to long-range shots, so I think I'll just go with that for my suggestion. Hag is my favorite killer, but right now, she's a mess. When she functions, she's amazing. But her kit is full of bugs and features that look like bugs. As for actual bugs, there are 4 that I know of. When you teleport, there's a bug that causes your camera to flicker back to its old position for a few frames, and there's also a bug that causes your camera to face the wrong direction for a few frames. Those 2 might be the same bug. I might just be tripping here. But either way, super disorienting. And then when you place a trap, there can be a bug that prevents you from placing them directly next to a wall. I remember you used to be able to place these things basically anywhere. It's a little bit silly, honestly, the places you could place them before. But when you do place a trap, you can't really see its effective range right now, even though you definitely used to be able to see it. The other issues that I have with our kit are, well, they're technically intended, but they are terrible features. When you teleport, you lose all of your forward momentum. This means that if you try to lunge immediately, which is always going to be your gut instinct, no matter how many hours you put into Hag, you are going to miss if they reacted to your trap quickly enough. And if you place your trap too close to a vault or a drop pallet, it can sometimes be triggered from the other side of the vault. Usually, you'll only have this happen to you if you run a shell add-on. And hey, hell, maybe you might be able to use it to your advantage, but holy shit, that's annoying. So if you fix these, with maybe the exception of the traps triggering across vaults, it should be great. Yeah, maybe you could also buff Grandma's Heart and Disfigured Ear, but, that's pretty low priority. Bubba. Very simple boy. Very simple problems. First of all, Jake face. This took way too long to get. But hey, with Sabo buffs, I think he'll be S tier since everyone will have Jake face. Moving on. Never mind. No, just kidding. He's way too slow, but everything is saw. I think you should bump him up to like 3.8 meters a second. Like 95%, I think. The 7th swing of his attack does no damage, so make it do damage. And then there's certain overhangs that can trigger a tantrum for no apparent reason. It's like the staircase going out of Thompson House basement. It's in the main building, so like do some hitbox checks and fix that, I guess. His add-ons need a little bit of work, but not too much. Billy gave his cousin here a decent base. First off, noise add-ons. These things are awful. They need to either be bumped up to the nth degree or removed entirely. The only way that I can think to make these useful is to make them completely remove the noise made by the saw. Maybe the file can make the distant noise vanish, and the muffler can silence the saw entirely. Chili, awful. Scrap it, give it something else. I vote it gives speed while revving, but anything other than this is better than we've got. After that, I guess you can give some ultra rares. I think it'd be cool if you had one let him break through pallets without stopping, and one that makes his saw take 10 years to charge, but lets him cancel the rev without losing the rev progress, so he can build up an insta-saw eventually. But yeah, that's just my 2 cents. Freddy, really powerful, really fucking boring. I do not like this killer at all. If we're talking Snare Freddy, he's the easiest killer in the game, in my opinion, once you understand him. He's complicated, not difficult. Once you wrap your head around his power, he kind of just plays himself. I much preferred Old Freddy. He was terrible, but he was my favorite killer, aside from maybe Hag, since he was just so unique and he fit the license kind of perfectly. Some of the changes they made were great, like the new wake-up system. I love the alarm clocks, love the how it takes longer, but not all of them were all that good. This new Freddy, like a waterlogged shoe hag that has no time commitment, or a clown that doesn't have to aim and has unlimited ammo, but I guess he has the limit of no range on his power. Pallet Freddy is a lot more fun, but it's kind of terrible. If you get Hawkins, for example, you have no power, and even with a good map, you're relying on stars having bad memory, bad luck, or bad communication. If I'm being real, what I want them to do with Freddy is to reskin this guy to be an actual original killer, like I don't know, some generic cultist motherfucker, and then rework Freddy into something closer to his original self, but give him an actual power alongside his sleep system. If I'm stuck with this version of Freddy, they should at least redo his add-ons, because their current state is terrible. None of his add-ons meaningfully affect his power. Like, not a single one. Like, all of them... None of them improve his main ability, the snares or the pallets. Well, I guess they do affect the pallets, kinda, but that's more of a secondary gimmick, in my opinion. They only really affect his secondary abilities, his teleportation or his sleep aura. Microsleep? Yeah, that thing. This would be like if Huntress only had add-ons that either cause blindness on her hatchets or manipulate her lullaby. It's dumb. It's really fucking dumb. Pig. Decent killer. But if you're the one to deliver on the saw license, I think she needs a lot more work than I'm going to put into anybody for this video. For now, I think they should increase her crouch speed to 4 meters a second so she can sneak around easier. And I'd put her terror radius back at 28 meters where it was so she can silently sneak up on people with whispers. This killer could be so cool, but they took the killing machine, the literal killing machine killer, and turned her into a time waster. That's kind of lame in my opinion. Okay, Clown. This dude's got a bunch of problems. But you can't really solve most of those without just giving him a new ability straight up. I think I'm just going to suggest changes to what he currently has to make it do its job more effectively. First off, reloading takes forever. It's awful. I'm changing it from a 5-second action to reload all your bottles to a channeled action that has a short startup, maybe 0.3 seconds, and then gives you a bottle for every half second you channel. It's no longer a massive time commitment. Just reload bottles whenever you need, however many you need. It's still a decent chunk of time to restore all your bottles, especially if you're running like gin and a soda bottle. But yeah, that's a lot better than Chase, I think. I would also make it so reloading doesn't kill your forward momentum until you finish the startup animation, meaning that when you try to fake an attack with the startup of your reload to bait dead hard, it doesn't cost you distance, so he'd be the same as Wraith faking Cloak in that instance. Other than that, I think direct bottle hits need to mean something. If you hit by a bottle, double slow. And then instead of just being an interrupt, they should give like a action lockout similar to the Doctor, but like a little bit shorter, maybe 1 second instead of Doc's 2.5. He also has some like miscellaneous problems. Gas physics are weird as hell. If you throw a bottle at high spot, it will settle onto the ground in something like almost like a honeycomb pattern on the ground. That's not bad necessarily, but some of the other things with the gas definitely are terrible. Number one problem with that is the way it interacts with ceilings. If you throw it onto the roof of the shack, it doesn't permeate, even though it used to. It's not only inconsistent from patch to patch, it's also inconsistent building to building. It used to work on preschool, but it stopped working on shack, and I haven't checked exit on preschool this patch, so who fucking knows? You'd have to lab this killer on every map every time they patch the game, even if they don't mention him. That is insane. That needs to be consistent. Moving on from that, his bottle throw cooldown is a little bit too long. That's a pretty simple fix. Just short numbers. Give him like his common featherette on his base or something like that. There's also a very annoying bug with his bottles where if you throw it when you're too close to an obstacle, the bottle will break in your hand without actually breaking. Like, the bottle will leave your hand, travel to the destination. It can even hit the survivor, but the gas it'll explode at your feet. It's awful. Legion, kind of trash. Needs a comprehensive rework. I realize I skipped Spirit. I'll get back to her in a second here. In an ideal world, I'd like to see Behavior reassemble the team that designed the scavenger gameplay from Death Garden to give Legion some hardcore parkour, but that is not going to happen. For now, just give him some buffs to make him feel less awful while he's in this weak state, or she, in this case. Shave a second off his fatigue. Make it so missing attack or attacking a deep wounded target doesn't take you out of frenzy. I don't know, maybe... what did I say? Make it so normal M1s don't remove any frenzy charge. Oh, also, definitely, they should fix the problem where deep wounding survivor makes Metal Man impossible to trigger. That's technically a Legion nerf, but that is just really dumb in general. Okay, the Spirit. I am not very good at the Spirit. I will be the first to admit that. That said, I think she is mostly fine, but I think her interactions with momentum are really fucking weird. Like, if you played her when she was released, and then you played her now, coming out of Phase Walk, it just feels weird. Like, it's almost like you're being shoved a little bit. I don't really know how to describe it, or I don't know how to describe it better than that, or I don't really know what's going on. I don't play this killer enough. But I think she is strong enough. Like, she's in an appropriate spot. If you fix sounds, she'll be totally fine. Maybe look into that weird momentum shit. Okay. The Plague is fine balance-wise, but she's not perfect. Not too much to improve on balance on side. Vomit collision needs to be client side, same as a lot of things right now. And your power recovery time, like the cooldown after you finish vomiting, I think that should be a bit lower. You could also argue she should have the timers. And you can say the same for Pig. Her and the Pig should definitely both be able to see the progress bars or the meters ticking up on their sickness and reverse bear trap timer, respectively. That's about it if we're talking about this version of Plague. Solid B for the design. As far as quality goes, it's a bit boring, but it does work. And you can go so much further with this concept than they did. Like, imagine Plague Inc., like a Plague Inc. menu with different paths you can branch down through the course of a match. Like, make her a disease-based killer, not just a vomit-based killer. That's all I've got to say about her specifically, but I'd also like to say that Temple of Purgation being on Red Forest is dumb. Like, I get the whole entity manifested in the Red Forest thing, but that's a cop-out and you know it. I'll put your time into the tiles in the main building, then ran out of time to design an actual realm. I see you behavior. You ain't pulling a sneaky on me. I'm watching you. Right. I'll move on for now, but that is priority numero uno. Okay? Okay. Ghostface. Very good. But he suffers from a lot of the same problems Myers does. First off, not only is stalking done server side, so are the lean and reveal actions to the best of my knowledge. This is a terrible idea, and behavior, I implore you to make this client side. There's also the reveal condition being equally terrible. There's a pretty long delay between when Ghostface ducks behind cover and the game recognizing that he ducked behind cover. Meaning, you can get revealed while behind a rock, like, that'll happen like every other match. The time between you being invisible to survivors and the game recognizing that should be dramatically shortened. Or I'd appreciate if that delay was removed entirely, but that might make it a little bit too hard to reveal Ghosty. Only other serious concern about balance is the power cooldown. In my opinion, 30 seconds is a little bit silly for an ability on a killer with nothing else to work with. People don't run Chewed Pen because it's amazing. They run it because anything less is kind of awful. Aside from that, the Ghostface is a terrible name, and he has the worst daily in the game. It's even worse than opening an execute as Nia. Okay, Demo. I fucking like Demo. He's a reasonably strong killer who is neither boring nor full of game-breaking bugs, and somehow that bar is too high for most of the roster. That said, he does have a couple problems, but none of them are super important. The big one is the Demo has no idea what gravity is. You can't channel Abyss while falling. He just can't comprehend gravity. He doesn't know what to do. And shredding off a cliff means you misshred, even if you run straight into the guy. It'd be nice if that got fixed, but it's not the most important thing. Also, his feet. I get y'all like Dumpling Face and his adorable stomping, but I need to hear things. I need to hear breathing and footsteps of things other than myself in order to play this game. Oni? Oni's great. I like him. Balance-wise, I think they should revert the threshold that stops passive blood gen at 98%. And I would appreciate the ability to lunge normally while I'm in demon mode. Not for an insta-down or anything, just a normal hit. Again, he can tap M1, but he can't like properly lunge that I know of. I'm pretty sure he can't. Like, Demon Dash, that's easy to land, but trying to land a Demon Strike, sometimes, especially with how that messes with your camera a little bit, that can feel like you're trying to hit Pichu with Ganon's up tilt. It doesn't happen a lot of the time. You can more or less leave him alone, though. He's fine. Not pictured here is a Deathslinger. He may not be in the game yet, but this is the internet, and you can't stop me from complaining. First of all, everything the gun does should be killer's client side. Lateral movement should not cause the spear to spawn in a spot other than the center of the sights. That's ridiculous. Second, the spear should also leave a smoke trail in its path similar to Doc's static wake after a shock therapy attack. That's just to help new Deathslingers, which is all of us, to learn the maximum range of the ability, since it currently doesn't have any kind of indicator. You just need to have somebody tell you it's an 18-meter range and intrinsically know how far that translates to in the game, or you need to play Survivor and watch enough Deathslingers miss shots. That's to get a sense for it. Prison Chains. There's a purple add-on. That should be changed from considerably increasing the number of charges to break the chain to slightly. And that's not because I want it to be nerfed. That's because the current text is a lie. It is a 10% bonus that is not considerable. Also, I am convinced that that he needs to have a score event for when he interrupts the survivor using the spear gun. It needs to be called Yeehaw, and that is non-negotiable.